You not making the best decisions that you can make. That's probably one of the best things that can happen to you is just that growth piece because it's needed, right? And if you allow God to do what He's gonna do in your life, oh man, I think it's nothing but blessings down that road if you allow it. If you allow Him to do what He's gonna do. Alrighty, world. This is the first episode of the In Another Thing podcast brought to you by Inspiration Above with your host, DeVaughn Clark. That's right. We are officially on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. Mama, we made it to the big screen. We are officially here. This is a long time coming. It's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of joy, a lot of support from all of our listeners so far. Everybody that's been anticipating this countdown on August 1st, 2025 on our first ever episode. I just want to first of all say thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the support, all the words of encouragement. And let's jump right into it. This is your host, DeVaughn Clark. This is me, y'all. Like, y'all gonna hear me in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evenings, whenever you want to listen to it, in your car, in the garage, on the radio, whatever the case may be. This is the official first episode of the And Another Thing podcast brought to you by DeVaughn Clark. And it's only right to start it off with a nice icebreaker, right? Let's get right into it. I got 8 questions that I wrote down that I felt like, you know what? Let's help the audience. Let's help the listeners from wherever they listen at, whether you're in America, Mexico, Canada, across the world, wherever you at. Learn more about who I am, what do I stand for, my background, all that fun stuff, okay? Cool. Give y'all the 411 on DeVaughn. Number 1, first question is, who is DeVaughn? DeVaughn is a visionary. DeVaughn is an inspirator. DeVaughn is a business owner. DeVaughn is just a child of God, right? 2, where is DeVaughn from? I'm from Chicago, Illinois, y'all. Only the greatest city in America. Only the greatest city in the world, actually, right? Come on now, y'all. Look, we got the best food. And I know y'all, a few of y'all probably in the and listening like, man, I ain't got nothing, no New Orleans food or Miami, cool, whatever. But Chicago, listen. Come to Chicago, get y'all some of course, you got to do the Portillo's, right? That's the mainstream food. But, if you really know somebody in Chicago, you got to come get some Harold's, Italian Fiesta, some Babas. If you're in the south suburbs, go ahead and get you some Big Bubbles. We got a lot of different stuff here in Chicago. We got the best food, y'all. Chicago is a city none like no other. Like, you really got to be from Chicago to really know Chicago. So, if you're from Chicago, then we got the greatest city in the world. But if you're not from Chicago, come on and visit. Ain't nobody gonna bite. Ain't nobody gonna hurt y'all. Come on now. Don't be listening to all the stuff that y'all hear and on the radio and all the stuff that y'all hear on the news. Yeah, every city do, but I'm standing for my city. I love Chicago. Juke music, everything. We done grew up off everything from the skating man from Inglewood that'd be skating right in front of MLK to a bunch of the pink house that's out west. And y'all, if you're from Chicago, then we call out west, the west side of Chicago, out west. The east side of Chicago, we call it over east. If you're from the south side of Chicago, we're going to call it out south. And if you're from the north side of Chicago, we say up north, right? And if you're not from Chicago and if you say over, out east or anything like that, then that's how we know you're not from Chicago. So I'm from Chicago, Illinois. That's where I'm from. Question number 3. Where does your passion from speaking come from? Man, that's a good question. I think so for me, right? I've been this talkative kind of kid like my whole life as a younger, right? When I was younger, I was this really talkative individual where I was just talking up a storm. And, my mom used to have to come to school and the teacher used to come and be like, he a good student, but he just talk a lot. So my mother was getting that all the time from me. And that is kind of where I got this passion from speaking from, just really being optimistic, really asking 1,000,001 different questions. If somebody told me the sky was blue, why the sky blue? If my grandfather, God rest his soul, Papa Jeff, when he was alive, I used to ask him a million and one different questions about movies and this, that, and the third. I was just always intuitive and just wanted to know more, and not really, I don't know if it was like some type of trust or something like that, but I just wanted to know more. So that's kind of like where the passion from speaking, kind of came from. And then I guess like where I knew like, okay, speaking and inspiration and growth and all that might be a gift was my senior year in high school, right? And my senior year in high school, I played football. My team wasn't the greatest. It is what it is. And I wasn't the greatest either. But anyways, we was 0-2, right? We lost 2 games, and then we had a practice on Saturday. And in this Saturday practice, the coach came and he was kind of asking us, like, what's our why? Like, why are we doing what we're doing? Like, what's the whole purpose of us coming to practice every day? What's the whole purpose of us, putting in this time, energy, and effort on a daily? What's our why? Everybody's kind of saying they why, this, that, and the third. And then it came to me, right? And then I told my why, right? And I'll tell you guys deeper in these podcasts what my why was that I told that day. But when I looked up, everybody was, all the guys was like kind of dropping tears. Coaches as well. And one of my good friends from high school, I just seen him probably like 2 months ago, back in May, and he was just saying like, man, you remember that day in practice? I'm like, yeah, man, I remember that day. Everybody was dropping tears, bro. And my coach, this is how I knew like, okay, speaking and inspiration and growth and all that. This is when I kind of took a look at it like, okay, you might have actually something great and valuable. My coach responded as a wide receiver coach. He responded. He says, "You see Clark?" We called everybody by our last name. He's like, "You see Clark?" He was like, "You see Clark? He got this gift of speaking. He know his why." And I never view my speaking as a gift. I always view my speaking as a burden, right? Because that's just kind of what it was for me, always getting in trouble from my mouth, and I always asking questions, and I was gonna ask when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I was gonna ask an adult question. It's just kind of how some kids are, right? And that's kind of what my speaking, the passion for speaking, where the intentionality came from, where it was like, okay, let me be more intentional when it comes to speaking. Let me be more intentional when it comes to this growth thing, right? So that's where it came from. Right. Why did I start this podcast? Right. Question number 4. That's a good question. Why did I start this podcast? Whoo, y'all, I went through some things this year, right? Earlier this year. And I was challenged. I was challenged by God. I was challenged by the world. And I was about to go on a 3-month hiatus, y'all. After we did the Inspiration Above, Entrepreneur Social. And after that social, I was about to go on a 3-month hiatus, 3-month like binge from social media. And something in my spirit was just kind of telling me like, nah, man, you need to continue to go out there and speak. You need to continue to go out there and just, I know what you typically used to is like shutting down and, again, taking 10 steps forward and then taking 20 steps back, right? But something in me was just kind of telling me like, nah, man, go ahead. And then I started dropping videos on TikTok like once a day. It started off 50 likes here, 14 likes there, so on and so forth. And then I just kept being consistent. And then, at first I was starting to TikTok off saying, if this is for you, this kind of thing. And I'm like, that's not really me. Like, that's not really my style. But I do remember my mother always saying as a kid, and another thing, clean up that kitchen, and another thing, clean up, how moms be. So I just was like, and another thing, you need to, just giving growth, giving inspiration about relationships, about family, about life, about every single thing, right? And that's where that really came from, right? The whole podcast journey. And then people started, saying, man, you should go ahead and start a podcast. And the likes started to come in, 20,000 likes here and 45K likes there. And then 128, I think the most likes I got on one video was like 128 likes. And then the comments was really, the likes is cool, but like the comments of like some people saying like, man, you just changed my life. And, I appreciate you for saying this. And some women like, you clocked my tea and all that, you know what I mean? From just what I was speaking on. And I was like, cool, it's time. Like if God is telling me to go ahead and make a move right now, then that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. So, from that point on, I say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and drop a podcast, and we're gonna start off with the audio podcast, and we're gonna see where it go from there. But that's where it started from. The podcast came about from me enduring some type of life situation, right? The podcast came about from me growing, never going, but always growing, growing, growing through my own um, my life, right? Just like growing through the different trials and tribulations that we grow through in life. And that really sparked me to go ahead out here and inspire in the world. So that's how the podcast came about. Number five, question number five. One interesting fact about speaking. Truth be told, y'all, public speaking is it feels way more comfortable to me than speaking one on one. It does. It really does. I like speaking publicly way more than I like speaking like to somebody one on one. You know how some people might get like stage fright? Mine is kind of the opposite, where it's like if I'm talking to somebody one on one and they ask me certain questions, I'm like, I might withdraw from that conversation because it's like, this person, it's a little bit more intimate. You know what I'm saying? This conversation is a little bit more intimate. They knowing a little bit more about me, so I might go in circles. But when it comes to speaking publicly, it's no problem. So that's one interesting fact about me, where I kind of tell people that like, I like speaking publicly way more than I like speaking one on one, and they like, like that's crazy. But yeah. Right. Question number 6. What has been your driving force in life currently? Yeah, my driving force in life currently has been God. My spiritual life, my spiritual walk. That has been my driving force in my life right now. God had to literally break me down. God had to literally strip me of my pride. God had to literally strip me of what I was used to, right? And get me into a place of running to Him. Right. That's been just me in my personal life. And it's been amazing. Right. And if, I went to church as a kid, right. Got baptized and stuff like that. But, God He has really been touching my heart, my mind, my body, and my soul in this season, in ways that I couldn't even fathom. I thought that the TikToks, to be honest with y'all, I thought the TikToks would never go anywhere. I thought the TikToks would never amount to anything until I had a conversation with one of my friends, her mom, and I was dropping these TikToks, and I would get like 50 likes here and 50 likes there, and her mom was like in the background like, I see your videos and another thing, and this is like before I even got like I ever received 2,000 likes, 3,000, anything like that, or any other like a flood of comments. And from that moment I'm like, wow, like, so people are, and she does like my videos on TikTok, but I didn't know people was like paying attention to them. You know what I mean? So from that moment forward, I was like, cool, people are paying attention. You need to drop. And that same day, I dropped a video, and that video got, I want to say maybe like 40,000 likes. That same, like within like the course of his time, ended up doing like 40K like over like a week or 2-3 weeks or something like that. And I'm like, wow, like that really sparked me to go out there and do something with the world. So my driving force in my life right now really been God. God really has touched my mind, my heart, my body, and my soul, and just has been constantly breaking my pride down, breaking, anything that's not meant for the betterment of my growth. He been breaking it down, y'all. He been breaking it down all the way down. I've been praying. My prayers been different. Praying 30 minutes at a time. Really just getting closer and connecting with God a lot more. And that's really what's been my driving force. Me as a father, me as a friend, me as a family member. What's on my number one agenda is becoming a better father, man, and friend on a daily basis that I can be. So that's been my number one driving force in my life. Okay, we getting closer to the end, y'all. We got 2 more questions. Cool. Number 7. What's a tough lesson you had to learn this season? What's a tough lesson that you had to learn this season, DeVaughn? I would say a tough lesson that I had to learn this season has been everybody cannot go with you, right? And life goes on, right? I think for a lot of like my life lessons has been like, a lot of it really wasn't even the feeling part. I think for some of us, it's more so just the pride. Like, I can't believe somebody did this to me. Like, it's like, okay, you did what you did, but the principle of the thing, and the principle sometimes is, I think we sometimes cover the principle up with pride. Like, is it really the principle, or is it really you just being prideful? And I had to, check myself as well too. And as always, you hear me say it a lot in the podcast, and as always, I'm talking to myself as well, right? Like, you got to drop your pride. You have to, right? And you have to understand that life goes on, right? And allow God to really do what He has to do. And it's painful, 100%. I kind of compare it to like a baby being born, right? Like when a baby is coming out of the womb, that baby crying and screaming and this, that, and the third, right? And it's a painful, process that child is going through as well as for that mother. But it's probably one of the most beautiful things in life that anybody ever experienced, right? And that's the same thing when it comes to life. When it's the same thing when it comes to growth. Losing friends, losing family, like all different things, people walking out of your life, whatever you want to call it, turning their backs on you, including you too. You not making the best decisions that you can make. That's probably one of the best things that can happen to you is just that growth piece, because it's needed, right? And if you allow God to do what He's going to do in your life, oh man, I think it's nothing but blessings down that road if you allow it. If you allow Him to do what He's going to do. All right, y'all. Last question. We're going to keep these podcasts closer to 15 minutes. 15 minutes just so y'all can get that daily dose of motivation. Last question. Give us your story in a few words. My story. Cool. Oldest of 3, right? Never met my biological father before. Cool. Went to college. Dropped out of college. Failed the real estate exam. The Illinois real estate exam 3 times. Finally passed on my last time. Went into transportation, wanted to give up as well too in the transportation world, became a father, just a bunch of different things, y'all, that you guys are going to unpack and uncover about me in these episodes. But that's kind of like a brief synopsis of who I am, right? And guys, I'm so excited for you all to learn more about me and learn more about growth, right? Like if you guys are dealing with any kind of relationship issues and not just like petty back and forth banter, but like what can you do to grow? This podcast is a safe space for you to really break down and drop your pride, right? For you to really open up and say, okay, let me check the man or the woman in the mirror. Because again, as always, I'm talking to myself as well too. It's a lot of moments I have to check myself before I wreck myself, right? But what can you do to grow? How can you grow when it comes to your emotions? How can you grow when it comes to your feelings? How can you grow when it comes to your responses? How can you grow when it comes to just your overall knowing of yourself, right? Like this is what this is about. And I'm so excited for you all to be a part of this journey with me. So stay tuned for more. All right, I'm going.